welcome to another episode of Spotlight Sessions. My name is Ilan Fisher, the host, and I also head up our nonprofit partnerships here at accessiBe's. Today is going to be really interesting because I'm chatting to Emily Progin. Emily works in public relations and communications for a really awesome organization called HelpHopeLive. How's it going, Emily?
Hi, I'm so glad to be here, so thanks for the opportunity. I'm having a great day so far.
Awesome. I know we're kind of on the opposite sides of the world, but it's really great that we're able to communicate. So Emily, let's jump right into it. I want to know a little bit about you and kind of what led you to being in this position.
Sure. So I have worked at this nonprofit HelpHopeLive for about 7 years now. I came from a background in copywriting, editorial, and I really had no nonprofit experience until 7 years ago. So it was super eye-opening for me to work for a nonprofit and understand how they function and what kind of role they fulfill. So I'm super passionate about what I do. I absolutely love my job. I love the nonprofit. So it's great to be able to talk about it. So it's been an amazing 7 years working here. It really has.
Awesome. And for those who don't know about HelpHopeLive, what's kind of the mission of the organization?
So HelpHopeLive is a unique nonprofit in that we help people to fundraise for their medical and related costs. So even though it sounds similar to what we know as crowdfunding today, we provide a couple of key differences from crowdfunding that makes us a really critical mission. So if you fundraise with something like GoFundMe, there are a couple of risks you take on as a patient that can actually make it more difficult for you to manage your medical costs and medical needs in the future. So we're looking to lift that burden for patients with the way we operate. So when somebody fundraises with us, the donations that people make are tax deductible, so that's great for donors. But the critical piece for patients is that they do not take on income or assets with the funds that they raise. Instead, we manage all the funds, we pay their medical costs directly, and as a result, those patients don't stand to lose their benefits, which is so critical. So if you fundraise and you make too much money to get government benefits, that's a huge loss for you as a patient because you really need those benefits to function. So when you fundraise with us, no risk of losing your benefits. We also verify medical need for all our patients. So for donors, they know for sure that that person has the diagnosis they say they have and that all the funds raised are going to go towards medical and related expenses that they critically need. So in addition to that, that's kind of the admin side, but on a personal level, we provide one-on-one fundraising help to each client. So we work with thousands of people, all 50 states here in the US. And for each of those clients, we offer them free of charge one-on-one fundraising help. So everything from planning events, online fundraising. I help with the social media and press outreach side, which is critical. The main goal is just to ensure that somebody facing a medical crisis doesn't have this overwhelming financial burden. We feel like no one should be in that position. And to be honest, no one should be forced to fundraise to meet their needs to begin with. I mean, it's really just not a position that a patient or a family should be in. But because of the way our healthcare system works, people are forced to fundraise. Because we're here to help them through that process and ensure they don't feel alone. So they get the support they need from the community and they know someone is there who understands what they're going through. So that's been the case for us since we were founded back in 1983. We were actually founded by a transplant surgeon and his wife back when heart transplants were experimental. So no insurance company wanted to cover those costs. So patients needed a lot of financial help. And our founders just felt like no one should not be able to access the care they need, the transplant they need to move forward in their lives because of money. So since 1983, that's been our mission. And that's what we do today.
Wow, amazing and like really phenomenal mission. It's like weird to think that I've never heard of a concept like this, and like taking the modern idea of crowdfunding and really moving it to this place is really phenomenal. So you kind of explained a little bit about the team, and you said you were founded in 1983. How many employees are you now?
We have, I would say about 15 employees. So even though we're a small team, it's literally thousands of clients that we work with. So each one of them gets one-on-one support from multiple members of our team. So we have our communications department. I'm in there. I manage our social media, provide blog content, help people with online and social fundraising. but we also have a complete finance department that helps them get their bills paid. And then we have client service coordinators who work with them one-on-one on all their fundraising needs for a lifetime. So small team, but huge impact in terms of how many clients we're able to help on a daily basis.
And interestingly, you mentioned impact, and when I was looking on your website, the thing that stuck out the most really was the impact page. So do you have any like really standout stories or kind of, really standout stories or things that happened that you would be able to share, kind of the impact that HelpHopeLive has had?
Yeah, it's difficult to describe our accomplishments only because we're lucky enough on this team to see the impact on a person-to-person basis literally every day. So I would say at least once a day I hear from a patient or a family that their life has been significantly changed by the fundraising help we've offered them. So in some cases that means that they were able to raise enough money to modify their home for accessibility. In a case like that, that person can then return home from a rehab facility only because those home modifications took place. So literally, it's like you're stuck in this rehab facility until you can modify your house, insurance won't cover it, and we step in and say, we'll help you raise the funds, and that person can return to their home after an accident, an illness. It's huge. It's life-changing. So the same thing with transplant patients. Every month I get to report on, the dozen or so clients of ours who only got a transplant because they were able to raise the funds they needed to keep that organ healthy. So we've got some statistics like we've raised 165 million since we were founded to pay medical costs. But to me, the impact really comes out of those conversations with individuals on a daily basis. So every day I get to hear somebody say, I don't know where I'd be without you guys. I don't know how I would have been able to get this service or meet this need without you. And also just people telling me that they feel less alone for working with us. That one's huge. I do a lot of interviews with clients on our blog, and them getting the chance to tell their story and feel like they matter and that they can connect with other people and share their journeys. It's just a life-changing impact of what we do. So I see a lot of evidence of how we help people on a daily basis, and after 7 years, I never get tired of hearing that from somebody, just that we played a major role in their life and made their life better for existing.
And that's really awesome, because I imagine there are a lot of organizations that provide the funds, and that's something that's really important because that fulfills a need. But I think there's obviously a deeper emotional value to the work that you're doing. So I wanted to thank you for that. And Emily,
I feel so lucky to be in this position. Like, I just have to say, I feel like everybody on this team is grateful for the role that we get to play in people's lives. We know that we're the privileged ones to just be able to play the role. You know what I mean? So so I appreciate that.
And I like that note as well. One of the things that I like to ask really everyone who comes on the Spotlight sessions is what their definition of accessibility is, because it's super broad, and you kind of mentioned or alluded a little bit to that, but I'd love to hear kind of what your take on it is, considering you've really been working at HelpHopeLive for now 7 years.
Yeah, I think this is such an interesting question to me, because when I first started at the nonprofit, I definitely saw people with disabilities as being in this other category for me as someone who doesn't live with a disability. I just assumed that someone who is using a wheelchair, for instance, or maybe is blind, that they weren't like me somehow. In my mind, they were different from me. They had different needs, interests, goals from me, different personality. It's only after working here that I just realized that someone with a disability has a lot of the same goals, values. They want the same thing out of their life that I do, whether it's work, relationships, travel, and all of these things rely on access. So it's kind of eye-opening to realize how much of the world is inaccessible to someone with any kind of disability. It's so different person to person, but a lot of people are basically in a daily fight to meet their needs, whether it's financial, whether it's physical access, transportation. Accessibility to me means that there are no barriers to you getting what you need to get the most out of your life. And I think that that's something that has to be a priority, whether it's for businesses or just for individuals understanding how inaccessible our world can be. So to me, working here, that really opened my eyes to what accessibility means. So today I really feel accessibility is a human right.
That's super powerful, and I can kind of very similar speak to that. Like I've only been really in the accessibility ecosystem for something like 2 years, and every day I'm learning something new, and every person I meet also kind of gives a new perspective on what their access requirement is like. So there's so many layers to it, and I'm really excited to be kind of sharing that with you. And thank you as well for being really vulnerable. I appreciated that a lot. And Emily, really another question I wanted to ask was regarding the business community, because obviously you're working in kind of fundraising, you probably come into contact with a lot of the business community. What are some of the things that you are expecting for the business community to be better or be more collaborative when it comes to access and inclusion?
Based on my own personal experiences, like you say, I have to be completely honest about the fact that accessibility is not something that occurred to me on a personal or professional level until I was in this role. So if I think about what helped me to learn what accessibility is and why it's important from a brand or business perspective, it's definitely valuing and absorbing firsthand perspectives from the disability community. So I have my own thoughts on accessibility. I'm not someone with a disability. I really believe in the idea nothing about us without us when it comes to access and accommodations. So for a business owner or for any professional who wants to improve accessibility and inclusion, start by being completely honest with yourself about where your blind spots are when it comes to what people might need access to, and seek out those firsthand perspectives from people with disabilities on their own experiences. Some things are going to be more universal, some are going to be unique to the individual. You've had that experience too. But I think you have to start with that desire to understand the perspectives of those firsthand perspectives from the disability community, and hire people with disabilities, listen to people with disabilities, and make it an evolving mission as a professional, as an individual, as part of a business or brand. Make accessibility and inclusion an everyday conversation you have with yourself, and one that you seek out from the disability community.
I love that, and I think just the overarching thing there is for people to be honest with themselves, honest with their surroundings, and interact even more. Emily, I wanted to really, before we kind of finish the interview, I want to ask you, if people want to get involved in Help Hope Live, they want to connect with you, partner up, what's the best way to reach you? Or what's the best way to reach the organization?
Sure. Yeah, so our nonprofit really does rely on support from the community to keep going. Just like the clients who fundraise with us, community support is how we function. So we're always open to partnerships, donations. To get involved with our mission, you can really just start on our website. It's HelpHopeLive.org. We have plenty of information there about what we do, and there's opportunities there to donate. There's also a pathway there to learn about how to start a fundraising campaign. So if you, someone in your community, someone you love might need our assistance, definitely learn what we do, keep us in mind, and put us out there as a resource. And then beyond that, of course, because I'm in social media, I have to plug our social media accounts. We would love for folks to follow us and just engage with us on social. We're at HelpHopeLive.org on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. And it's an amazing way to make a difference to our mission, just getting involved with us on social, whether it's a mention or a share or just starting a conversation. We would love that engagement, and we welcome it.
Amazing. Emily, again, I want to thank you so much for kind of giving your perspective, being on the Spotlight sessions, and really I learned a lot today, and I hope the listeners do too. And I look forward to our next collaboration.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for the time.